climate finance, it's becoming very clear that public financing is reducing. The donors are no longer giving the money, and even if they give the money, they are giving conditions. For example, they give money to Green Climate Fund, and they say this money should go to private sector. Now, how many of our private sector in Africa do play a role in climate change, especially in adaptation? Very few. In fact, the most vibrant countries are Kenya, Egypt, South Africa, and Nigeria, because we have a robust private sector. The rest of Africa doesn't have a robust private sector, which means, therefore, we are not able to mobilize enough resources to support this challenge of climate change. And that's why the ICJ advisory opinion is very, very important, because as you are aware, US pulled out of the UN climate change. The effect of that, it means it doesn't want to put money in climate. But the ICJ is saying, even if you pull out, you are still bound by the international customary law and principles. And that means even US, we can bring climate litigation and get judgment against it for not providing the resources as required because it costs harm. The second part, which I think is important, is that the ICJ has affirmed a number of principles that are very critical in this space. The first principle is due diligence, which is very, very important. Do no harm to your neighbor. And under the polluter pays principle, which has also been affirmed there, it means that if you do any harm, then you have to pay for reparations. And I think it gives us a solid basis upon which to argue. And finally, I think the issue that many of us talk about is what's the role of private sector? Can they still do whatever they want? No. There are two things that are very important. One, that the ICJ says we need to look at climate as holistic. And therefore, whether you are licensed under different ministry or whatever, you are still bound by what you do in environment. And that means countries are supposed to prepare legal frameworks that are holistic. And so in Kenya, we may need to look at the legislation that we have on the Environmental Management and Coordination Act, as well as the Climate Change Act and the related sectoral acts, to ensure that they are in line with the direction that has been given. Number two, the ICJ actually affirms the principle of environmental impact assessment. It's now clear that for any activity that to be done, it must undergo an assessment to determine the extent to which it's going to do any harm. And if that is identified, then appropriate mitigation actions must be put in place. So this means, therefore, the principle of prevention becomes critical in ensuring that in the manner that we do both development and finding a balance with the environment.
Thank you.